إن شاء الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. So we were talking about the right of the brother in faith to accept his invitations and to accept his gifts and his presence. So we were talking about how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a man came to him and gave him a fruit and he ate it, but he bit it and it tasted, it wasn't ripe yet. So the fruit was maybe sour, it didn't taste good, and he didn't share it the other companions, and one of the companions accused him of not sharing, and he said, if I would have given you this, you would have shown your distaste towards it, and you would have offended that person who came and brought something to me, the best that he had, and you would have made him feel bad. So, because of that, I didn't share the fruit, you know. And maybe someone, uh, sometime they give us some food or drink that's not to our liking, but it would be rude to turn it away. It will hurt the feelings of the other person. So we should accept it and thank them for their gift they have given us instead of complaining and showing ingratitude. Maybe someone gives you something and they gave it out of their kindness of their heart, but it's not really what you wanted and you don't need it. And but they gave it to you. You should accept it and be thankful for it and say, I didn't ask you for this. I don't want this. Why you give me this, and make them feel bad that they put in the effort to either make it or to buy it and to wrap it and to give it to you. And so we should, never be ungrateful for the things that people give to us. I remember once while on the Erba'in walk from Najaf to Karbala, we went and we sat around a fire in the desert, and they were serving hot, sweet milk to their guests, some type of drink they had. And they were, serving this drink, and I explained to my friend, this drink, it's my stomach is not going to be good for this drink. I don't think my body, my health is going to go good with this. It's going to make me upset. My stomach's going to get upset, and I have to walk very far, and it make it difficult for me to continue on that journey. So he told me it's rude to refuse him. So he had a very clever idea, and he drank his milk like quickly. He just, turned it up and drank it. And then, you know, uh, he drew the guy's attention to something that was far out in the desert. And he was like, "Hey, man, you see that over there?" And the guy looked over in that direction. And the guy, he grabbed he gave me his empty cup very quickly and grabbed the full cup, you know. And the guy said, "Oh, wow, you like the drink, would you like another one?" And then I just politely declined the second cup. But he did it in order to not be rude to that person, and we have to think about, the other person's feelings. Because if he didn't do that, I would have drank the cup, obviously. But it's rude if someone offers you something and then we cannot take it. Obviously, if we have like an allergy to something, we cannot take it, but in general circumstances. Also, we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, that man is not from me who sleeps content while his neighbor sleeps hungry. So the Prophet is calling us to, take notice of the people around us. So we shouldn't ignore the needs of other people in society. If we are able to fulfill those needs, then we're obligated to do what we can. So we find this example in the lives of the Imams, alayhi salam. For example, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salam, he would secretly go out at night and distribute food to the orphans. He's known as the father of the orphans. And no one realized that he was providing this food to the poor of the society until after his death. And we read the same about Imam Sajjad, alayhi salam, that when the poison took its course, his son Imam Bakr alayhi salam went and did the janazah for his father, and he noticed marks on his knees. And this was from when he would do sujood, he would prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he noticed marks on his shoulders, and this is from when he would carry food to the poor families. And he would, these imams of ours, they would offer things to other people and they would give things to other people, which shows us that uh, it's on the people to accept these things, because you wouldn't offer things if you didn't expect the people to accept them. So we noticed that the Imam, he put in so much effort into helping others that it left a physical mark on his body from carrying the food. And this is reported about many of the Imams. And they did this due to the love and care they had for other people. And they didn't wish to see them suffering. Unfortunately for our society today, if it causes the slightest inconvenience, we don't want to help at all. And we should place ourselves in their position and imagine if it were us who were suffering, what would we want someone to do? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Muslims are like one body of a person. If the eye is sore, the entire body aches. And if the head aches, the entire body aches. He says, one who starts the morning in a condition that he doesn't make an effort about the affairs of the Muslims is not one of the Muslims. And a person who hears a voice of a man who calls the Muslims to his help, but he doesn't respond to him, he is not a Muslim. So the narration from our Prophet ﷺ shows us that we should care about other people, that we shouldn't be indifferent towards them. And we should be hurt when we see other people being hurt. Our heart goes out to those in Gaza and other places where our Muslim brothers and sisters are suffering at the hands of the enemies of Islam, and we have to do what we can for them. And the least we can do is at least make dua for them and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease their suffering, make them victorious, hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam, Ajallah ta'ala farajahu sharif. The next section in invitations is inviting other people to good deeds and to good counsel. Allah says in Surah 16, ayat 125, invite all to the way of your Lord with wisdom and kind advice, and only debate with them in the best of manners. Surely your Lord alone knows best who has strayed from his way, and he knows who is rightly guided. And we have hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, amongst the charity that people give, none is as valuable as imparting knowledge and wisdom to others. No gift is more valuable than that one should tell his Muslim brother a right word by means of which he is guided to the path of Allah and he gets rid of bad behavior. Quran says in Surah Al Imran, ayah 110, you are the best community ever raised for humanity. You encourage good and you forbid evil. You believe in Allah, and had the people of the book believed, it would have been better for them. Some of them are faithful, but most of them are rebellious. So you have to ask ourselves, what good would it be if we had the valuable treasure of knowledge and we didn't share it with society to help benefit them? If everyone who learned knowledge of Ahlul Bayt, they didn't do anything with it, and they just sat in their house, they didn't give classes, they didn't go to Mimbar, they didn't write books, they didn't do anything, that knowledge stayed with them and it died with them. What benefit would that be? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, someone who possesses knowledge on a subject but conceals it when he's asked will be bridled with rains of fire in the afterlife. Subhanallah. It's the obligation. The hujjah is on the person who has knowledge that he has to do something with it. You know, the same is like someone learns medicine and he doesn't give it to anybody else. Imagine the people who learned medicine, they just kept it for themselves and they didn't do anything with it. They didn't help anyone and they didn't teach anyone. It wouldn't pass on to the next generation and people would be suffering from ailments. And we have to be grateful for those people who pass down that science from one to the other. And with all fields, it is like this. And with knowledge comes great responsibility. Knowledge of religion is not a commodity that's just for one to gain it and then keep it secret. One of the purposes of learning knowledge is to advance and better yourself, then your family, and then your society. What good would it be if we just went in to study Islam and then we just, someone goes to Najaf, Qom, Karbala, Mashhad, somewhere like this and studies Islam for 10 years and they just keep it for themselves. Islam's not a secret society, and we're not meant to hoard all this knowledge for ourselves. And this knowledge is beneficial for people, and we must have the compassion within ourselves to help better mankind by enlightening them with the knowledge, the light of the knowledge as much as we are able to. I think it would be, a great injustice to mankind for there to be a person with knowledge and then he refuses to share it with people. And this is not the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhi wasalam. You know, imagine if someone came and asked a learned man a question in regard to his salat or his fasting, for example, yet despite knowing the answer, he refuses to share it with him. Instead, he tells him, go find it yourself. It's seen as something reprehensible. Imagine there's a sheikh in the center and someone says, Sheikh, nah, I have a question, can you help me with this matter? What do I do in my salat if this happens or that happens? And then the Sheikh says, well, I know, but I put a lot of hard effort into learning it. You should go do the same. It's seen as, aib or something is like, it's not good. It doesn't look good. It's not nice. It's reprehensible. So the responsibility of imparting knowledge is a type of wajib thing. It's wajib kafai, meaning that it's the responsibility on the whole society until someone does that job. The same like janaza. If someone dies and passes away, it's responsibility on the whole community there to bury that person. And when someone does it, the responsibility is lifted off the shoulders of the other people. You know, in this case, the responsibility would fall upon the knowledgeable people who are trained in the sciences of Ahlul Bayt until, someone fulfilled that job of disseminating knowledge. If the knowledgeable person chose to just sit in his house without any reason, then he would be liable to the punishment that the Prophet mentioned in this hadith, that they will be bridled with the reins of fire. So it's a very serious thing. The next thing we can say is inviting one to a discussion. One of the best things we can do is organize majalis, gatherings to remember Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And we should invite other people to, partake in this great remembrance. Our fifth Imam, Imam Bakr alayhi salam, he said, may the mercy of Allah descend upon the servant who meets with another and recalls our affairs. For verily the third one to be amongst them is an angel who seeks forgiveness of these two. So it's just two people coming together. Sometimes we think we need 50, 100, so many people. Imam says if two people come together, the third one is an angel who seeks forgiveness for these two. He says, no two people gather to remember our affairs except that Allah flaunts them with the angels. He shows them off. Said, look at these two people came together to remember Rasulullah and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. He says, if you all collectively meet, then remember and summon people to our affairs, the affairs of Ahlul Bayt, for verily our legacy is brought to life through your majalis, through your gatherings and commemorations. And the best of people after us are those who recall our affair and invite other people to do the same. So organizing majalis for Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, Imam says that these are the best of people who organize these events. And one of the imams who used to constantly be called to have discussions, he was invited to partake in discussions, was our eighth imam, Imam Rida alayhi salam. And many of his debates are narrated in Uyunu Akhbar Rida by Sheikh Suduk. It's a 2-volume book. They've compiled many of these debates that he would have. So Ma'mun al-Abbasi, he ruled, during the height of Abbasid Empire. And at times he would hold dialogue between scholars of different religions, denominations, and he would arrange debates between Muslims and others, whether they were Christians, Jews, atheists, Sunnis, other sects of Islam, for example. And he yet he secretly wanted the Imam to be defeated in these debates so he could use it against the Imam. Yet it's impossible for, Hujjatullah fi ard, the proof of Allah on the earth, to be defeated or overpowered in an intellectual discussion. It says about the Imam and it is written on his upper arm. This ayat says ayat from Quran, and the word of your Lord has been completed truly and justly. Surah 6, ayah 115. He says, He is the true and just. A pillar of light is set up for him, for the Imam, from the earth to the sky. He sees in it the deeds of the servants, and he adorns the prestige, and knows the consciences, and is notified upon the hidden matters. And he sees what is between the east and the west. So nothing is hidden from him, from the realms of the kingdom and the kingdoms. And he is given the speech or the language of the birds at his walayat. So this is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he places the Imam as a hujjah on the earth, the same as he places Nabi, a prophet, as the hujjah on the earth. The earth always has a hujjah from Allah. And if he places a hujjah, then he needs to give him all the things that one needs to be equipped with to do that job. So Allah gives him this access to this type of knowledge due to his position. And it said once Ma'mun invited the learned or the scholars of the Christians to the court and asked Imam Rida alayhi salam to answer their arguments discussing Isa alayhi salam, supposedly being God and other Christian beliefs. So the Christians argued that at least Jesus was one who the Muslims also believed, while Muhammad was exclusive to the Muslims. So to this, Imam Rida alayhi salam said, yes, we do believe in Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus, son of Mary, alayhi salam. He was a prophet of Allah and he was pious. But there was one flaw in his conduct, which was that he prayed less. His prostrations were few, his supplications were scarce and occasional. The Christian man, the priest, he got upset and he said, this is preposterous. Jesus was known to always be worshiping, prostrating, and praying to his Lord. So Imam Rida alayhi salam, with this argument that he put forward, he smiled and he said, if that was so, to whom did he worship if he himself was God, as you claim? So we see that the Imam used their beliefs against them and their arguments against them in order to make them come to the realization that, yes, Isa prayed and fasted and did many things, worship acts, but to who? And the Christians admitted there he is praying to his Lord. So who is his Lord? So the Imam, these books are full of these debates about Imam with other people. And, when someone invites us, to discuss matters, we should accept invitations, but when we look at it, we have to look at their intentions the best we can. We cannot see in people's hearts, but many times their intentions make the appearances, as the Imam Ali alayhi salam says in Najr Balaga, that through their expressions of their face or their actions that they do, body language, for example. So some people, they don't have any intention to learn or find out the truth of the matter, and they only wish for battle of the egos. And they will never submit to the truth even when they are proven wrong. And this is the case in most of the debates. It's just a battle of egos. And we see that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he said, don't discuss matters that don't concern you. Leave discussing most of the matters that concern you until you find the appropriate time. It often happens that the rightful person discussing a matter that concerns him will be exhausted because he is doing it at the improper time. And don't dispute with anyone, whether foolish or clement. The clement overcomes you, and the ignorant one embarrasses you. So we shouldn't dispute with people, but we can discuss with people. Is a difference. Discussion is just healthy. No one's trying to force their opinion on someone else. You're just discussing to get to know one another better. And maybe they learned something. They just want to know for the sake of knowing. Whereas the debate and the dispute are ones who only want to just prove you wrong. Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, he said, don't enter a disputed discussion as it will take your honor away and your respect away, and don't make mockery and joke because people would pick up courage and challenge you. This is true. People respect you as long as you have the veil there. But if you're joking with them and saying improper things, then people will also say those things and towards you as well. Most of the people who want to debate with you only want to, end up insulting you or claiming you have no idea what you're talking about and you're ignorant and all these things. And it's only beneficial if you see that the person really wants to get to the truth of the matter and will be receptive of the information that's given to him. As Imam Ali alayhi salam said to his companion, Kumail ibn Ziyad, Ya Kumail, there is a degree of superiority with all people. Beware of discussing with the despicable, even if they invite you to a discussion. Be tolerant and be one of those whom Allah describes in His saying, when addressed by the ignorant ones, their response is only peace. So we have to be careful who we discuss with these matters. And if we don't know, we should not be ashamed to say we don't know, because it's better than making something up or, them overpowering one in a debate. Say, I can refer you to someone else who knows more about this matter. You're picking the wrong person to, debate with. The next one is invitation of Allah, His Messenger, and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So we have to accept and take heed to the invitation of Allah, Rasulullah, and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And we have to remember the parting command of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi when he said, I'm leaving behind amongst you two weighty things. As long as you adhere to them, you will never go astray after me. The book of Allah and my Ahlul Bayt, or my itrati, they say in narrations, my family, my progeny. They will never separate until they come to me near the pond. So look how you're going to treat them after me. Yet, how did they treat Rasulullah? How did they treat Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam after the martyrdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? The Prophet left clear instructions on how to remain guided, so that is to cling steadfastly to Thaqalain, the two weighty things, Quran and Ahlul Bayt. And we see that all of the Islamic countries have so many problems and are going through so much turmoil. All of these problems arose when they turned away from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. In order to, have that golden age of Islam, again, we have to return, to get our prestige and our respect and our honor. It's done by returning back to those true teachings of the ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to guide us, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. We have to ask, why did they abandon the successor of Rasulullah? What did he do to make them hate them so much? What did he do to make them curse them from the minbar for 80 years? Why did they disassociate from him and punish the ones that loved him, the Shia, by death? Some they tortured by cutting out their tongues, like Rushayd, and others they killed, crucifying them, like Mateen Tamar. Some they cut off their heads. Even some of them they would bury alive in the time of Muawiyah. What did Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib do to them for them to confiscate his wife's property, for example, the source of income, leaving them in the clutches of poverty? Why did they hate Imam Ali so much that they waged civil wars against him? What drove them to set fire to his house, kicking in the door, smashing the daughter of Rasulullah between the door, killing her unborn child? Why did they hate him so much that they dragged him by the point of the sword to force his allegiance to the self-appointed ruler of the time? What did he do to produce so much hatred that they killed him while he was in sujood? Even when they heard that he was killed in sujood, there was so much propaganda against Amir al-Mu'mineen, they couldn't believe that he was praying. They said, he prayed? We didn't think he prayed. We have, these are the things that they cannot answer. And we have, when we show the fada'il of Amir al-Mu'mineen, it brings one to realize his true position to what, at least what the small amount we can recognize. Wasn't he the only one born in the Kaaba? Wasn't he raised by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam since he was 5 years old, following his every footstep? Wasn't he the first one to accept the message of Islam? Wasn't he the first one to offer salat with Rasulullah? Wasn't he, was he not the only one beside Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who never bowed down to any idol? Wasn't he the one who slept in the bed of Rasulullah when he made the hijrah, risking his life for the sake of Allah's messenger? Wasn't this the greatest warrior in Islam? And the steadfastness in battle and gave him the name Asadullah, Lion of Allah. And was it not for him, the one who stood up from amongst the Muslims to stand up against Amr ibn al-Wud in the battle of Khandaq, the battle of the trench, who cut this disbeliever in two, saving the deen of Islam, where they said the whole faith goes to meet the whole of kufr, the disbelief. Wasn't he the one who conquered the Khaybar, after many other people failed? The one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he commands us to love him in the Quran. And they purified him from all sins, the ayat of Tatir. And he made it binding on us to obey him in the ayat of Walaya. Didn't he marry all these fada'il, we look at it, wasn't he the one who married the leader of the women of paradise, who gave birth to Hassan and Hussein, the leaders of the youths of paradise? These are all in their books. Wasn't the same person that Rasulullah appointed as, man kuntu mawla fahada aliyun mawla. He appointed on many different occasions, he appointed him as the successor, not just in Ghadir Khum. We see that Quran defines Amirul Mu'mineen as the nafs of Rasulullah, the self of the Prophet, being that they were created from the same light. They're all ayat mentioning these in Quran. He was the one who stayed with Rasulullah instead of rushing off for power. He stayed with the body of Rasulullah and did his funeral rites. So if all of this is true, which we know it is, how can these people still hate this man and frown at the mention of his name? Didn't the Prophet say that without offering the blessings on this man, salat would not be accepted? We have to say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad in our salat, or our salat is not accepted. Wasn't he none other than, the son-in-law of Rasulullah, the Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam? They have to admit these things. And Imam Ali alayhi salam says people often hate those things that they don't understand. They don't look at it in this complete picture, and they already have preconceived biases already. So we have to recall to them these things in order that they accept the invitation. And we have some understanding about the position of the imams, so we love them and we follow them in obedience to Allah's command. And many people don't like the path of Ahlul Bayt out of willful ignorance or being muqassir. They have the ability to know, but they don't want to know. Our job is to make ourselves more aware of our imams, their lives, their sayings, their teachings. Then we teach our family and we teach our friends. Then we can make society aware of their rightful position by describing their merits to them and what the Prophet said about them. And I believe if people knew the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, then they would love them, they would accept the invitation, and they would follow them, the way that I became enamored by them in my youth when I learned about them. And the last thing, we have 2 minutes, so we'll just finish this section, inshallah, is giving and accepting gifts is one of the part of this right. So it's highly recommended to give gifts to your family members. Giving gifts to your parents, your spouse, your children, it brings joy to their hearts. It's a way to show that you care about them and that you remember them. And Ibn Abbas narrates from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa that he said, whoever enters a market, like a mall or something, and he buys a gift and he takes it to his family, is like the person who does charity to those who are in need of it. So giving gifts to friends and family members whom there may exist some bad feelings between you and them also brings about reconciliation. As Imam Rida alayhi salam said, gifts cast out hatred from the heart. And we see the benefits, of inviting others, giving gifts, which gives us the logical proof that if we are encouraged to invite and we are encouraged to give, then it's also recommended for the people to accept the invitations and accept the gifts of other people. So we'll end here, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the tawfiq and the blessing of being more hospitable with each other and closer to each other and united as brothers and sisters in faith. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive all of our brothers and sisters. We read the dua from Quran. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. Oh Lord, forgive us and our brothers who preceded us in faith, and remove from our hearts any ill will against the believers. Lord, you are the compassionate and the all merciful. صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم
اللهم
صل
صل
على
على
محمد
محمد
وآل
وآل
محمد
محمد
الجفر
وآل